think you just don't watch the right films.
Okay, personally, I disagree with Rohan and with Atlas because
I think you need to broaden your horizons a bit, like me.
that's it.
Hi everyone, I'm Kendra.
And I'm Saf.
I'm the sound guy, Tom.
We're starting a series of videos inspired by Jubilee Media on YouTube, but we're calling it Bakerloo.
We're starting off with a Spectrum video titled Do All Film Students Think the Same?
Hope you enjoy. The film industry is becoming more diverse. 3, 2, 1.
Right. I think when people say it's becoming more diverse, they it's becoming diverse in like a fake way. Like with Marvel, when you look at their films, it's like they say, oh yeah, we're so diverse, but they'll have like a whole black crew for like Black Panther, and then the next film, everyone's white except like one odd black person out there. That's kind of representative of like the whole film industry, because I think like only very, very, very recently, like in the past like 5 to 10 years, has it slowly started to become more diverse, with like more powerful roles being given to people that aren't just straight, white and male. But currently in its state, I don't think it is diverse.
So I feel like you need to kind of clarify what you mean by diversifying, because in terms of like race and sexuality, yeah, that's making progress. But in terms of like the neurodiverse community, behind the scenes, I know tons of people with ADHD and autism, but in front of the camera, like the only kind of thing people can name is Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, like that's it. And I kind of feel like as like a community, we need to work on pushing those people forward and their stories being told. When you talk about diversity, it doesn't mean just race and sexuality, like there is more to that.
I agree with Rohan in the sense that it's this kind of fake diversity. And I think we overuse the word diverse a lot because we want something to be diverse so we can seem more equal. I feel like people in the industry, they force diversity in places that sometimes it just doesn't make sense. In the grand scheme of things, like normally the people behind the scenes are the people who are needed to make everything more diverse, and a lot of the time the people who are still behind the scenes are people who are a product of nepotism or like white privilege. Normally those people, because a lot of the time don't relate to a lot of different stories, they kind of choose people on the screen and behind the scenes who relate to them more of like more diverse stories. So that kind of stops everything from becoming more diverse.
Although the points that Rohan and Jane made are quite like good points, I like disagree. I feel like in relation to the question, saying it's not diversifying is kind of like ignorant and like taking a part of what like how far we've come. So although yeah, it's not as diverse as we would like it to be, to say it's not is a bit like undermining everyone's work so far.
I just kind of wanted to counter Atlas's point. I think it's less about the fact that it is diversifying in a way that they'll take photos and show more people on set and stuff, but when you really look at the big people, the executives that are making the decisions, all of them are, like, you walk in there, you're going to see the same person copy and pasted to like 20 chairs, and they're putting black people, Asian people, you know, all different kinds of races and like genders and stuff onto sets to fill out a diversity quota to make it seem like, you know, everyone has a fair shot. But in reality, the bigwigs, they're still all the same. They're still keeping it in their own little bubble.
Nepotism is bad. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of nepotism, and I just think, I guess, coming from a personal sort of side of being like a young black woman trying to get into film, it poses as a big issue in trying to get anywhere. And I think it's one of those things where obviously the industry is known for nepotism like quite a lot. It's a very well-known fact that it's a very big part in the industry and how many people get there. So I think it's a big hindrance to anyone who wants to break out, and I think it's even harder for anyone who comes from like a POC background or a neurodivergent background. Like it's a lot harder because it's just pretty much, you know, you follow the straight white males, straight cis males who are just always, you know, I guess, at the top, and it becomes very difficult. And I know it's difficult to sort of look at it and be like, this is okay, because it's not, and it's really damaging to a lot of people who want to break into industry.
I feel like obviously it goes without saying you can't really choose who your parents are. Like some people are born into that and their parents will force them into the industry. And I know obviously that doesn't go for everyone, but it's what you do with that nepotism. Like you can't change the fact who your parents are. You can't change how you got into the industry. It's what you do with the power that you have. And I feel like there are, for instance, Sofia Coppola. She's a nepotism baby, but she worked to get to where she is. She has her own distinct style and her own thoughts, compared to, for instance, Lila Moss, who is kind of only in the modelling industry now because her mum is Kate Moss and she hasn't put her own stamp on anything.
So I moved because at first you asked me the question and I thought, yeah, nepotism is bad, you know. People benefit off of their like rich parents and they don't even get to try. But I thought about it, and that sometimes I feel like me personally, when I think of nepotism, I equate it to whiteness and I equate it to privilege, which is true, it is equated to privilege. But sometimes there are people who worked from the bottom up and have given their children an opportunity to thrive in, and like giving someone a chance.
So I'm standing over here because it's kind of like what you guys said. It's like you can't choose who your parents are, and if I ever become successful in something, I will make sure that they get the kind of, you know, get to a kind of place that they need to be able to make it big as well.
I think films today lack originality. 3, 2, 1.
So although like some films, they like take on formats from previous years and, you know, they reuse the same format because like, because if a format is not like broken, why would you want to fix it?
I think that films, while a lot of good films are being released and have like really great stories, a lot of them follow like the same structure. So for example, the MCU, recently a lot of the films have just been like the same, and I feel like we could really diversify like plots and explore like different characters. I just feel like a lot of them are just really like copy and pasted.
So I kind of just wanted to respond to your point, because I know you were talking about how you watch the MCU a lot, and those films really are more like very formulaic, and all of them are kind of the same. But I think you need to broaden your horizons a bit, like me. I watch a lot of art house films and just like very like experimental kind of films, and I feel like once you get into those kind of films, you see what like new filmmakers do nowadays, and you see how different it is from old films and how old cinema could never create what we create now, and we can create what they created back then. So in all honesty, I don't think new films are unoriginal. I think you just don't watch the right films.
I feel like when people think about film and where it's got to today, they're kind of only focusing on the British and American film industry. Like, you know, there are hundreds of new films that are innovative and different that are coming out, but you just haven't seen them because they're not in English. Like, for instance, the first Bhutanese film was nominated for the Oscars this year. It's you know, it's an inspirational story. It's interesting. It's about a community that is just underrepresented, but no one knows about it because no one's talking about it because it isn't in English. So I feel that the film industry is making strides. We're just not seeing them.
I think the art should be separated from the artist. 3, 2, 1.
I think that people in this industry, we know that there's a lot of corruption, and in art, in like creative industries, there is a lot of corruption, and we give so much praise to people who are so bad, and like we just tend to keep giving more love to people who don't necessarily deserve it in a way. So I think we need to start separating the art from the artist, because there are people who are truly good and who are truly trying to make change in the art that they use, and we just don't give them enough praise, but we're giving people who make really like terrible things, and because for some reason it hits a spot for some demographic, there's like we give them so much appreciation when I don't think it's necessarily needed.
Okay, so in response to Jane's point, I think it would be very great if we can separate the art from the artist, but in my opinion, I feel like art is only as big as the artist is. So if you have like an artist and you can see like they've done bad in the past, if I'm gonna watch a movie or a piece of media from them, I'm gonna, like, in my mind, I know what they're like, and I'm not gonna wanna, you know, enjoy it as much as I could as if it was a artist that, you know, has not done nothing wrong or has done good for the community. So I think it would be great if we could, but like we just can't.
So I just want to counter what Atlas said about how it would be great if we could, but then again, it's just that constant thought about, you know, if then the good person or being a bad person. I just want to take a very big thing apart of most childhoods, Disney. Very interesting thing about Disney, and we all, I think a lot of people do know and are aware that Walt Disney wasn't the greatest person, but a lot of those films are a part of our childhoods and play a very big part in, like, I guess, who we are today. So I think we as a society also do separate the art from the artist, because we continue to love those same films that Disney produced. Like, we never think about, oh, well, Walt Disney was a horrible person, I'm not going to go watch this new animation. That's never a thought that comes across. And you continue to watch Disney and just let it, because it's a big part. I think something you grow up with, something that it's something you're used to. So I think I somewhat, like, I understand, but I disagree.
So I know how you were saying how, like, in the past that we wouldn't have basically what you were saying, that we wouldn't have held people accountable, and we would still watch their stuff and still give them money in that way. And I think as time is moving and as the industry is evolving into what it is now, it's kind of become a space where you're held accountable like a lot more. And I think with Disney films, it was a thing where people aren't going to know what you're doing unless you're on a tabloid or something, you know, but nowadays everyone will know everything you're doing. So it's just, in our modern context, you know, I think this is what feels right to me.
Okay, personally, I disagree with Rohan and with Atlas, because what you said about like now people are being held more accountable, that's just simply untrue. Like, it's this fake accountability that we have, this like cancel culture where we pretend we hold people accountable, but then we still consume their art and we just pretend that nothing happened. And what you said about you saying that you won't necessarily enjoy something if you didn't like the person, we all know it's not true, because we still follow people who do bad things and then they do like a fake apology, or they make something that's like really great to watch and then we just forget about it. So this idea of us like actually separating art from the artist nowadays is just not true, because we just don't, like, we can't do it as humans. We just can't. So yeah.
Scene one.
Hold on, do that again.